All right, I want to welcome everybody out to the October Seekers podcast for the year 2022. Uh, we've been having some nice weather around here in Arkansas right now in the 70s and cloudy days. I've heard some different people's had activities around, and that would make sense. It's getting fall of the year, stuff's moving around, and game people's in the woods, and so here we're gonna go. We're gonna start with the podcast here, and I'm gonna let Dale start off and let him introduce himself, and then we'll go to BC. You there, Dale? Maybe he's not there.
It looks like his picture's froze up on my end.
Yeah. Well, we'll go on with you, BC.
Uh, see, just, BC Davis. I live in northeastern White County, Arkansas. And the recent activity I've been told about is some weird screams coming from the railroad tracks. And I've had two people tell me about those. One man was out about 5:40 a.m. This is around 2-3 weeks ago. And he said it didn't sound like a screech, not quite like a screech, not quite like a howl, not, he said that his dogs just went nuts. And he looked around and he didn't see any of his cats. So I said, well, they probably ran for cover when they heard that. And another guy who lives closer to the tracks has heard some weird noises out there. And I think I sent you a recording of what he had. I mean, it sounds like coyotes and all that, but there's some other, but it does.
It's different.
Yeah.
Sounds like something trying to mimic a coyote to me.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. He just, he's just heard them. Now, I haven't heard of any of those noises recently, and I know that they're both listening for them. But it's just odd that right there within like a 2 weeks span that they're both hearing these noises. And one lives, I would say, probably as the crow flies, maybe a mile, maybe a little less from the tracks, and the other one lives probably about 3/8 of a mile from the tracks.
That's
yeah,
plenty close enough to each of them's hearing the same thing or the same thing moving around.
Yeah, and that's also those same tracks I showed you here in town. That's also been the site of at least 2, maybe more dogman sightings over the years.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Well, one of them was that Melissa I think told you about. She passed away back in January, unfortunately.
That's it's Facebook stuff, but I got a friend's request from her last week, and I didn't accept it because I was like, I'm pretty sure BC said she passed away.
Yeah, if it was that Melissa Davidson, that's definitely a hacker.
Yeah.
Because her and her daughter were both found dead.
Hate to hear that.
Yeah. Melissa, I think she had some sort of a type of meningitis, and I think maybe not her husband, but her daughter, I think she was really bad diabetic, and I think maybe just the stress of finding her mother or something just sent her into a heart attack or something, and that, so that was a sad thing.
Sad thing. Lots of stuff's happening nowadays, though.
Yeah.
I'll go into the reports that I've heard from around here. One is over by I followed up from people from the last time we talked. I remember the forest is the Wilbur National Forest. That's east of where Dale Bullock lives, probably 10 to 15 miles. He said he got ready for all deer season and had all kinds of deer and put his feeders up and had deer on the cameras, and all of a sudden everything disappeared, and he's getting that telltale smell as the one that he thinks is the big reds moved back into his area. And like I was just saying, it's about 10, 15 miles from there, the Wilbur National Forest there. I've had two reports that they've seen a red Bigfoot over there within the last 3 weeks. So that would all tie in. Maybe they're back into Dale's area over there. And we had him on here just a second ago. We was talking how good the internet connection is, and then poof, he disappears.
Yeah, have you ever been up to that area?
Not
I think.
since I was a teenager.
Yeah, I've been through there. It's been a couple of years, but boy, the first thing I thought going through there, I'm like, man, this is definitely a squatchy area, and it is, man. It's kind of even in broad daylight, it kind of gives me a creepy feeling. And there's this one peak in there, and I was thinking that would be a good place for them to sit up there and keep an eye on everything. And they
Yep.
know it's deer season, so they're going to be out there probably looking to collect some hunter kills.
Yep. And capitalize on the easy, just drag it off before the hunter gets to it, or
Exactly.
and it's vice versa. It's just like uh, once the hunters get into the moving around in an area, the deer move and jump up, and that's a perfect time for an ambush of the deer. The way the Bigfoot hunt and everything, if they're moving around, so
Right.
uh,
I
that's
noticed
the.
that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that was the closest report that I've had, and I've had an eyewitness call me. It's somewhere over by where we have area two that we go to over by Neil's, and I was going to ask him if he got on here, but he ain't on here. Uh, it's close to OARC. Uh,
Man, that's way back in the woods, OARC.
yeah, but
At
it's
one
close.
time, the road ended there. I don't know if it still does or not, but it seemed like the highway ended at OARC.
It did, but now the pig trail goes on up now. So,
Oh, okay.
but anyway, I was going to ask him if he knew where it was at. They got the first cool spell we had here back in September. They went camping and got run out of their campground that night by I know it was a Bigfoot. They didn't know what it was, but it's screaming that they had never heard before. And the way they
Yeah.
described it's definitely a Bigfoot scream whoop. So I was going
Yeah.
to ask him if he knew where that area was, but that's the only two reports I've had within the last month.
You remember the picture of that structure that I sent you that was just like right around the corner from me?
Yeah.
I went through there the other day and it looks like it's down. So I'm not really sure if there's a significance to that, but it's not there anymore.
Huh.
And it had been there for months. So I don't know if somebody just kind of striking down the colors, or something else moved in there and took over and knocked it down. I don't know.
Right. That's something to keep an eye on then, though. If it's changing, something's going on.
Yeah. As far as I haven't heard any, except for that whoop back in July. I haven't heard anything, but I'm not up all night. But I may get a digital recorder. Part of me wants to, and then the other part of me is like, do I really want to hear what that thing picks up?
Right.
So, and I think
They're
the
they're
one
real
guy that
good.
had this,
I got one here, and I got two of Neil's recorders, but it's got like each one of them's got 18 hours of audio that I've been trying to go through. And I talked about posting it last time, and I was just expecting Neil was going to post his uh, that we could put the whole audio on there and let people listen to them and say, hey, at this point in time, check it out. There was a whoop, there was a knock, or because you get that many recordings and that much going on, and I don't usually have enough time to listen. I got to listen to a little bit of it and then wait and listen a little bit of it. But a lot of people, that's what they're looking for something to do, and that would be something good for them to just sit there and listen to it. So I'm working on that. I hope he is too. We got Dale back on.
Yeah. I don't
I
know
don't
what
know.
happened.
We just bragging on the internet. How
Yeah. Shouldn't have said a word.
yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if you guys could see and hear me. I said I was there, but I wasn't sure.
I my screen. I had to make my screen bigger to where I could add you back. Because it sets down there and you're waiting backstage, and then I got to
Hmm.
click to add you. But I had it just for the big screen so that I could see everybody, and I forgot to. That's why I messaged you. Where you at?
Yeah. Yeah, I could text, but I couldn't. Even right now, it says I don't have internet. I don't know
Huh?
I don't know how in the world it let me back on because it's not showing anything.
Huh?
Craziest thing. I don't know what's going on.
I don't either, but I'm glad you're back on. Did you? You probably didn't hear. I was telling about. We had recent encounter sighting, and I was telling them about. You had a bunch of deer, and then they moved out, or you put the feeders up, and you was getting pictures, and then it just cleared and plumb out. And we was talking about Big Red might be back in the area. And last time I was telling you, I had a report from out. I couldn't think of Wilburn last time, but that national forest over. I've had two more within the month that said that they've seen a reddish colored Bigfoot that is over there.
Huh.
So
Well, we know he travels. Yeah.
that ties right into what? How far is that from you? No more than 15 miles, is
Yeah,
it?
not that bad. As the crow flies, it's probably a lot less than that.
Yeah. So that all ties in that he's moved back into the area, or one of his offspring, or
Yeah.
ever how it works.
Well, I had the dogs the other night. They went out, and I mean, boy, they left the front deck like they were going to put out a fire, and I'm like, what in the world? And they stopped right up there and was just growling and carrying on right there at the edge of the woods. And I called them back, and they didn't waste any time getting back to the deck. But it may have been something going on up there. I don't know.
Right.
It's sure kind of strange that those corn feeders and stuff. There's no deer hanging around them now. Not even a raccoon. I mean, that's strange.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody's listening and from that area and you have any reports, either contact me, Messenger, or Dale, and we see. We'd sure like to hear about it and
Mm-hmm.
investigate any of them areas if we have an opportunity or area to get there.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Well, BC, we still on for November 6th.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. I
And
was talking.
I'm waiting to hear back from one eyewitness uh, to talk to you about his sighting.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll be able to get him, and I'll get back in contact with the lady that you met last year and
Oh
see if she's
yeah,
willing to put on camera,
that'd be
because she saw
awesome.
one. Yeah, she saw one there in by the lake back in, I think, 1968, 69, somewhere in there.
Wow.
It was about the same time my uncle saw that one over in Augusta. That was about, he said it was blonde colored.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's about 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
Yeah, he never went back out there alone again for the rest of his life. And I think he was in his 80s when he passed away here about, I don't know, about 15 years ago. So,
I understand that.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even go up on the mountain without Wendell and the gang here with me anymore. I'm not going to do it.
yeah, that place I had that experience back in '89. I haven't set foot back down in there yet, and that was 33 years ago.
Yeah.
Because when
I
you're
hear
sitting,
that same kind of account more and more. Um Clint's got a friend that wants us to come down to South Arkansas. he had basically kind of same kind of deal that you had, BC. He said, I ain't going back in there. He said, I'll take y'all where it's at, but y'all's on your own from there. I said,
Yeah.
well, if we go, there'll be enough of us. We'll be all right.
Yeah, I just listened to one of Scott Carpenter's podcasts here not long ago, and he talked about people that they heard steps and was looking right where they're at and couldn't see a thing, and that's what happened to me. I just know that when that happened, I just totally freaked out, and like I said, I just kind of shot my way out of there. Well, I literally shot my way out of there. I mean, I just kept firing and heading back up the trail and got out of there, and that was it.
Yeah, that's basically the same tale that he said. Now he heard a lot of the grunting and the sniffing, and he said that all of a sudden everything was moving, but he didn't see nothing. So
Yeah.
he ended up he was shooting into the ground, but was shooting just to back up, and he said never even phased whatever it was. It kept coming right along with him. So
Yeah, what I had was 16 gauge, double barrel 16 gauge with birdshot in it. So if I'd hit it, it probably wouldn't have done anything.
right.
And to this day, I think it was just that I made so much racket with that gunfire that might have saved my life, because I don't know if either one of you listened to David Pilatus' Missing 911, but at the base of a cliff, and there's a water body there, and that seems to be one of the markers for these missing 411s.
Mm-hmm.
Which of course I didn't know about at the time, but I look back and I'm like, that might have saved me. I don't know. I mean, I'll never know for sure, but
Right. Good chance.
yeah.
That's kind of like, we had to shoot our way out back there in '73. The
Yeah.
first time I ever experienced any of this stuff, and I'm like, boy, I mean, we were loaded for deer. I mean, we are all loaded for deer, and I emptied everything I had, and so did the other guy that was, behind with me while everybody else got out of there. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done. I was like, man, whatever that is, it's just too much for us.
Yeah, that is a scary experience. I can attest to that from personal experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was using a 30-30 Marlin. And the boy with me was using a 12 gauge with slugs in it.
You guys were loaded up a lot better than I was.
Yeah, and there was the rest of them had like 30-06s and everything else, but they were like, just get out of here. We'll cover the back trail. Just we run out of bullets. You don't see us soon. Come back and try to find us later. We're probably got us, but it was scary.
Yep. And people don't think about that when they're just out having fun that day. It might not end in fun.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's back before Boggy Creek even came out. The movie, and I just kind of put two and two together afterwards. I was like, that's what that was. It's just like, oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had never heard of Bigfoot before.
Now I hadn't either. Like I said before, all I had was grew up around here. It was my uncle talking about the woolly boogers. And what's a woolly booger? And he never would tell me. And then I later saw the Boggy Creek Monster and figured out what was going on here.
Yeah, what I couldn't figure out, that early morning when that happened to all of us, I couldn't figure out the red eyes. Like, what in the world is that tall with red eyes, big red eyes? And I was like, boy, what is this? You see deer, in greens and yellows and stuff, but red eyes. I was like, man, I don't know anything but little bitty animals that have red eyes like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was odd.
Yeah, I was talking about the red eyes. We've seen that up at Marcus's place, but we've also seen some that had. I wouldn't say there's red eyes, but there was more had an orange color to it. You think they
Yeah.
change with age, or or they're just different to begin with?
Yeah.
I've heard of green eyes. I've heard of green eyes being seen.
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, that was over in Bradford, probably about 7-8 years ago. Said he saw
Wow.
2 sets of eyes. There was one. He couldn't really tell me how tall they were, but it sounded like it was an adult with a juvenile because one was up higher and the other set were much lower.
Right.
So again, I don't know if that's if there's a significance, if any, to that, but that's what he told me.
Right.
And his wife was home alone and the house got slapped.
That happens
And,
often.
yeah. And sadly, his wife passed away here, about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if the eye color on Bigfoot like that, if they, well, just like say someone asked me what color my eyes are, it just depends, you know. Sometimes I've got green eyes, sometimes I have brown eyes, and if I'm out in the sun all day long, I've got light blue eyes, you know. So,
Right. Yeah.
you just depends.
Changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the eye color is kind of like one of those old mood rings. Red is when they're mad or excited, and green is if
Yeah.
they're just,
Yeah.
everything's copacetic. We're just out here making your dogs bark.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, it possibly could be something like that. Depend on how they are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not heard anything like that, but I'm just that's just one possibility for the
Yeah.
difference in eye color.
Mm-hmm.
Sure could be.
I had that one night where that group was coming off the mountain all together at one time while I was out there with my dog in the dark, and that they were all red, kind of reddish orange red, but they were
Right.
all the same colors coming at me. Of course, I think they had something in mind that night, so it might have been why they were red. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good theory. I like that. Yeah.
Well, when we had our trail cams up there, right where we call that, I guess, a gifting tree, where all that stuff was inside the
Mm-hmm.
tree, and on the pictures on it, I mean, there's nothing there on that bluff. Where these eye shine was from Matt, it had to be right at 11 foot tall,
Yeah.
Oh,
At least.
at
At
least.
least. Yeah. At the
So,
eyes.
in the eyes, I
If
mean,
it was cone headed, it was taller than that.
yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah,
So,
that's a. I'd like to get back up in there. I wish some of these leaves would get off a little bit so you can see what's up there. I don't like to go up there where something can hide.
yeah.
Well, we've got some rain coming in. I guess maybe tomorrow evening over into Tuesday, so that might knock some of the leaves down.
I hope so. We sure need the rain down
Oh
around
man,
here.
bad. We do too. Bad. We got an inch and a half. I think it was like a week and a half ago. But yeah, it's so dry you can't hardly tell that we even got that. I noticed that the lake was not as down as I thought it would be. Bon Knob Lake. I mean, it's still down some, but not as much as I thought it would be. So I'm guessing it's just that inch and a half because the ground's so hard that whatever hit probably ran. The watershed area for that lake probably all ran into there. That's my
Right there.
guess.
I know Heber Springs Lake or Greers Ferry Lake there, it's down.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I've been across there and you see the trees sticking up out of it. I'm like, what? I ain't
Yeah.
never seen that.
Yeah, that's dry.
Yeah, I was out on the Narrows yesterday, and it was just, man, you could see old tree stumps that had been cut down for 50 years that was showing out there. And I mean,
Yeah.
the roots and everything was still showing. But I'm like, boy, I'd like to get them out of the water and do something with them.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Well, I want to remind our viewers that if you got any questions or comments, to chime in or type them up here, and they'll appear here where we can answer. We got our panel here is me, Wendell Hurricane Burris. We got BC Davis from Bald Knob and Dale Bullock from Libby Root, Painburn, Heber Springs area. He kind of halfway in between there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So, if y'all got any questions or comments, just leave them here and we'll try to answer them.
Now that you mentioned Pangburn, I met a girl a couple of years ago whose family, I guess, had some land up there, and there was a drill pad that back when they were drilling for gas, and they went out there one day and it looked like something just got out there and just tore up. I mean, all stuff that a human being could not tear up, but it
All
was
right.
just
Yeah.
all tore up. So apparently somebody wasn't happy. And it seemed like I heard about a hunter being out there and having some sort of encounter. Couldn't see it, but it was like really close, and it was just filled with that, that terror feeling that I've experienced and others have. That, and he got out of there, and I think last I heard, he's never went back into that area.
Yeah, that's all tied into that same area, Pangburn there, and
Yeah,
Wilbur National Forest
yeah.
up there. So they're working in that area too. So may have to get a. I said if anybody's got any access or anything Pacific area that we could go investigate, we'd sure love to if you'd let us know about it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about if there's any more sightings and stuff around
Yeah.
Center Hill Romance area.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff that's been seen just east of Bradford along the White River bottoms.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. I mean, orbs and Bigfoot, and I don't know, some other stuff. That little kind of a Mothman type thing that was, the body was like 2 feet long and the wingspan was 6 feet.
Hmm.
Said just a little long. Said it looked like the face looked like a cross between a monkey and an owl, which very weird combination.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's also where the same guy had seen. It looked like it was a white and a black squatch on all fours coming after them when they were in the car. It was him and another guy and their dates, and they just turned around, spun around, and got out of Dodge in a hurry.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff out there. It's almost like almost sounds like a window area.
Yeah.
Again, I
There's
think this whole
several
area is.
window areas or pinpoint areas around the state.
Yeah,
Up in the mountain home area, there right there, there's a pinpoint. I've hadn't had no recent sighting, but they've had all kinds of strange stuff happen within, say, a 15, 16-mile circle of mountain home. The area that you're talking about there, the over in the west, where around the Oark and in that area, same thing. And then down in the Ouachita National Forest and your Ball Knob area, and then there's an area down in Kensett. I forget the name of it. They've had a lot of area along that river that runs through there.
talk about Higginson or Morning Sun or.
Higginson, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that years ago. I heard of that even before I got into this, but I'd heard that somebody had been out hunting and they got that really foul smell. And it seemed like that he told me that there was a sighting, but I'd have to get back with him and see if I can get some more details on that.
Right.
But if it's along the tracks, see, those same tracks that go through there come through Ball Knob, so could be just a travel way.
Yeah, they could just be traveling back and forth and moving north and south using them tracks.
Mm-hmm. I think they also use power line right of ways and pipeline right of ways, but it makes sense. I mean, that's the easiest travel.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect highway. If you're moving by foot, that's the easiest way.
Yeah.
And then you get in, if there ain't none of that around, there ain't no tracks or power lines, then they use the creeks as a mode of transportation. And that's what's been done for thousands of years.
And probably roads, if there's nobody out and about at night, I'm sure they probably walk along the roads as well, and highways and city streets.
And different ones do different,
Right.
Wendell, you heard anything? It's kind of east of 65, kind of northwest of me. Not over as far as Mountain View and that area up in there where we've been at, but it's more west of that, a little bit further north. there was some quite a bit of sightings that I was reading about that that they had some heavy activity up there, but I haven't heard a thing up there. I wonder if somebody else is investigating that, or if
I
people just
hadn't
not talking about it anymore, or what.
I hadn't heard, last year I heard it's kind of south of Shirley, around the
Yeah.
Devil's Fork area and
Oh
all.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In there, I heard all kinds of encounters there at the camp. At the farthest campsite there, actually had the side of a camper that was ripped open.
Hmm.
Luckily, there wasn't nobody there staying in it, and
Oh boy.
so. But that's been over a year ago, and I hadn't heard nothing else from that area. So I don't know if they moved on, moved out, or it's just nobody's talking about it.
Well, I tell you what, I think we're going to have some more sightings around this area really, really soon because judging from I was on the south side of the Narrows, and that water was down low. There were clams big as my hand. I've never
Hmm.
seen clams that big, but
Wow.
they were just laying in the water everywhere, right next to the shore.
That's a perfect food source.
You better
So
believe it. Yeah,
yeah, they're if they're in the area, they're going to be there getting that.
boy, that I'd love to have some. Try to get a trail cam out there somewhere if I knew somebody wouldn't steal it or something that's out there in the boats.
Yeah,
But
that's the
I
trouble
know say
anymore.
yes, man. I mean, there was clams everywhere, and they're great old big ones. I was like, man,
Hmm.
them things. I mean, I ain't kidding you, big as my hand. There was
Wow.
some big old clams, and had none of them had been cracked open. I mean, they were still alive and well.
Still alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all heard of anything going on around Jasper, the Jasper area?
I hadn't had any reports.
Sometime back, a gal was telling me about might have been some dogman sightings around Jasper,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and they supposedly have their own kind of structures they build, which is basically just a big pile of sticks. And this one gal went out there and found one. It was about 4 miles off the road,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
yeah, and she claimed that she saw some skulls, and she told the police. So I have not heard of anything else about it. I'll contact her and see if there's been anything else. But if it
Wow.
goes like that stuff normally does, you'll never hear anything about it, and it'll be denied that it ever took place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask around see if uh my buddies has heard anything about up around Jasper.
Yeah, it's kind of close to that area. It's called Arkansas Grand Canyon. If y'all know where that's at.
I've heard of it, but I hadn't been there. Uh, I think I was by it one time. I finally got a question. It says during what is now the deer season, hunting season, uh, do you think it's safe for hunters to actually be out there during bow season? Well, there's a lot that go out there. Normally, Bigfoot, Sasquatch is uh, they don't want nothing to do with humans normally, but you always find that one example, like the 411 cases, to where they just don't come back. Everybody takes their chance when they get out there. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the rest of y'all. When I go bow hunting, I got a gun on me too. I mean, I just don't go out there without a gun anymore. Don't do it.
That's me. I wouldn't recommend this even a hike.
Mm-mm.
Anything out
Yeah.
there without some sort of protection. A lot of
Yeah.
people says we're just overprotective or whatever, and that if you got a gun on, they can smell it, and then they're automatically angers them, or they won't come out, or it affects it. Well, I'd rather take my chances having it than not having one.
Right.
Yeah, better to need one and have it, and need one and don't have it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Matter of fact, the one guy that heard that noise said his dogs went crazy. I mean, it wasn't nothing for him to go out in the woods by him, unarmed, just to put up trail cams. He said, I'll never do that again. And here's the odd thing, that he said that he always woke up at 5 a.m. on the dot. He said, since that's happened, he said, seems like he's unable to wake up at that time.
Hmm.
I don't know what, if anything, that happened or could have affected that, but he mentioned that to me yesterday, as a matter of fact.
There's a lot of things that having an encounter or that happened to him like that change your cycle. Uh, could be a lot of different things going on there. But
Kind of wondered if it wasn't like an example of infrasound or something. I mean, of course, I don't know for sure, but it sure gives him, give him some reason to wonder about that.
well, I know the two from our group that's been hit with infrasound. It sure changed them. Well, I would say it's still changed. At least the one that hangs around me a lot, Marcus, he's different. But he wouldn't admit it now. But he's different than before.
I'm pretty sure I got hit with infrasound out there at the cliffs that I told you about, but about the only thing that really changed is I don't go out there anymore, which might have been the desired effect. I don't know. Keeping people away one incident at a time, I guess.
It worked.
Yeah. That's both of them had when it happened was the uncontrollable urge to leave. Got to go, got to get out of here now. And one of them, even to the point it was making him sick, that he just couldn't stay there anymore because his nerves and everything had got so bad that he was getting sick. He didn't want to seem like a wimp and to all of us, but he had to go.
I understand that. Yeah, it's time to get out of here now, fast.
Yep.
And there was a friend of mine. As a matter of fact, he's one that's about 3/8 of a mile from the tracks. He went out to Bonaw Lake. Oh, I'm guessing this is July-ish. And he was out there about 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Said there wasn't nobody around. And just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this huge rock. He didn't see it when it was thrown. He just knew when it landed, when it hit the water. But from where it had to come from, and you'd have to be pretty stout to throw a rock that big that far.
Right.
So it really shook him up. I'm like, well, yeah, I can see that. And his sister had seen one, I think it was around Perrin or somewhere in, strike that, somewhere in the Russellville area. Said it looked like it had dreadlocks, which I've heard of reports of them. I don't know if they're actually like doing their hair or if it's all natted up and whatever. It just looks like that.
Now I've heard of them out in Oklahoma where that they their hair was matted and it was long enough that it was twisted and made it look like dreadlocks. So
Right. I don't know. Are there Rastafarian Bigfoot? I'm kind of thinking like you. That's just long hair got tangled up.
this was. I mean, it's. I was trying to think of the creek it was in, but anyway, they was using that creek as, I don't know if it was fishing or what, but when they stood up out of the water, it was so much mud that was on them. The two people that were in the boat described them that they had long dreads of hair, hanging hair all over them. But
well, if they were in a boat, they just come up out of the water.
Yeah, it just come up
Oh no.
out of the water about 8 feet from them.
Oh man, time to go. Fire the engine up. Get out of there.
Yeah,
That'd be about the time your motor wouldn't start, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, well, I guess this is it. Go down with the ship.
yeah,
I often wonder about times where they find people that have drowned or whatever, that their boats have been found capsized. I mean, yeah, people can do that. I mean, they can step and, you know, put it out of balance and whoops, you get in the water. But sometimes,
yep.
just kind of makes you wonder.
Makes you wonder if something didn't raise up and they went over it and it spooked them or startled them and raised
Right.
up, or it come up out of the water right by them and that was enough to spook and startle them and they fell out of the boat themselves and flipped the boat.
Or could have
And
had a heart attack and fell over or passed,
yeah,
fainted and fell in the water.
Hey, BC,
Yeah.
I brought something in here today.
Yeah. What you got?
I wanted to show you. Uh, I know Wendell's seen it. As soon as I did this, I stepped right in the middle of it and broke it, and I had to fix it. But anyway, this is the cast that we took in our cabin area that we investigate.
Holy smokes. How
And
long is the print?
it's about 23 inches.
Jeez, man, that's
But
around 11 foot
part
tall.
of it was probably, I think it actually ended about right in here and right in here. But it was real wet down in there where we was at, a lot of water running in through it. And that was the only track that we could find, but it was pretty good sized fella.
Yeah, you got something that's tall. That's around 11 feet, give or take, tall, based on that length of print.
yep,
In that same area, we found like trees, and Wendell and I have both seen this in several areas we've been where the trees look like they've been stacked up to funnel game, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
And down there toward the end of that, where we sat, I found I was going to put them on here today, but I put them up somewhere where they wouldn't be broken or anything, and I can't find them. But they're big stone tools that were stuck in the ground right there at the end of that chute. I mean, they were halfway into the dirt, but
Stone tools. That's
but
interesting.
you can see where the edges have been sharpened, and I mean
yeah.
they're
Sharp.
one side of it is probably about that wide that's been sharpened, like in a big clove, and the other side has a hook on it. And
Oh,
found a couple of tools like that on one on each side of that chute, and I was like, boy, this was a killing weapon right here. It
man.
appeared to me that something had tried to run something down that funnel and get it as it came through the end of it or something. And
We were
That makes
supposed
sense.
we were
yeah,
supposed to do the fall investigation up there, but it's close to the north unit in Sycamore National Forest, but it's on the private family land of Mike Neal, and he had a stroke back the first part of September, and then he had another light stroke last week.
Oh,
So
oh man. I hate to hear that.
we don't know when we're going to be able to get back up there, but we're sure hoping and praying for him and hoping we get back up there.
yeah, I'd like to go find my pocket knife. I've had that thing for 20 years.
Oh yeah,
It was right there where we made that cast.
yeah,
That's where I lost it at. I'm pretty sure of it. Probably
Yeah.
rusted, but I'd still like to have a chance at it.
Yeah,
right.
next time Robert Taylor and I go out looking around, I gotta get some stuff to make casts in case we run across prints. I'd like to start making some casts.
Yeah,
I found out though last time, like one package of that, you can get those packages, like 1 pound packages or something at Walmart,
yeah,
and it
Yeah,
takes almost a full bottle of water. And by the time you haul 2 or 3 packages of plaster around you with you, and 3 or 4 bottles of water, after a couple of miles, you can start feeling it.
yeah,
yeah. It ends up being
Adds a
heavy.
lot of weight to it.
What we need to do is uh, divide it up. One carry the water, one carry the plaster, and then the other tools.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we kind of used to do when Matthew was going with us and everything.
Here's something strange. Have I told you about? There was an exchange student that stayed with an uncle of mine in Augusta, and that was in 80 81, and we've maintained contact all these years. And he's come over to Germany, and some of my family members have went over to Germany, and I was just talking to him about stick structures and all that, and he was curious as to what they look like. So I did a Google image search and sent him some, and he said that there was a patch of woods that he walked by going to school as a kid. And he said when in the wintertime, when the fall, when all the leaves fall down, he said he saw structures just like that, and that's in Germany.
I
I'm like,
figure
wow, that's weird.
they're all over the Earth in different hemispheres and everything.
Right.
Maybe different versions, but uh, especially if the way they say it was all one giant continent at one time,
Mhm.
and then it's split up and moved apart to form the different land masses. Uh, all of them could have some of the same type of Bigfoot species, whatever you want. They may be different heights and different looks as far as colors and stuff, but they're just like us. They moved all over the globe.
I think generally as the climates get warmer, they get smaller, and
Yeah,
as it gets colder, they get bigger.
yeah.
But the way he described, I've never been to Germany, but he said there's very little forested areas. The Black Forest. I've heard of sightings there, but for something to be stuck like that, basically in the middle of a urbanized area, kind of was surprising to him. And I said, well, yeah, I mean they do. They come into cities, they come into towns.
Oh yeah, I have one of my friends that lived up here across from Dale, but he moved to. He's just outside of Memphis, 15 miles, and he says that they've had all kinds of activity over there in that area, and wants me to come over and check it out. But I just hadn't been able to get over there in the last year. He's every weekend he goes out and has sends me pictures of the stick structures and everything that's built along the Mississippi River and everything there. So it looks like an active area.
Yeah, I've heard of several sightings in that area along the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. Well, y'all got anything that any kind of questions y'all want to ask me or each other? Or
Actually, I get if I have any, they normally get answered during the course of our conversation.
right, that's me normally.
Now, have you ever heard of the rake? A rake?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yes.
I read of one sighting that was on one of those islands in Greer's Ferry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the guy he went out there on a boat. I don't know if he was just out looking around or whatever, but described it as white and spindly and just really creeped him out, and he got the heck out of Dodge. I mean, he got back to his boat and got out of there.
Hmm.
Boy, that's all I need's a wraith on top of everything else.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hadn't heard that over there, but
I'll
over
never
by
go in the woods again.
I've not heard of any rakes being spotted around here, but I have, Dogman and Bigfoot and aliens and that Mothman and cloaked entities. Those are the five that have been described to me that I've heard of around here.
over by where Thomas lives. It's just south of Thomas. I can't think of the town and community there, but a lady contacted me. She thought she had a rake and described everything.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
her her son had went out to the barn. The horses was spooked, and they'd been in the barn, but they'd got out of their stall somehow or another. And when he turned, it was open on both ends. When he turned the corner, it was just getting dusty dark, and he said he run right in on the opposite end of the barn was a rake, and
Oh,
he described it being 8 foot tall and no hair or nothing and skin. if there was hair, there's just a few patches all over it, and the skin looked gray to it and dark eyes.
Oh
And
man.
it started to run out. And this was a football player. He's I guess 11th grade, but a big old boy. She said, and ain't scared of nothing, but he is now. And it stopped and turned and run off. But to me, I think it was a severely malnourished Bigfoot that had like mange or something like that. But she described it had to be a rake to her. But either way, that was a report there, and that was south of where Thomas lives, and I can't think of that town.
Hmm.
But anyway, so
Well,
that's two
I'm
of
just,
them. That's been two reports now. One by Greer's Ferry and one over there.
yeah, I haven't heard of anything local. At least nobody that I've spoken to.
Hmm.
But if it does, I will. You know me, Wendell. I'll message you immediately.
Right. Same here.
I hope I never have to send that message.
Yeah, me neither.
More importantly, I hope it's not me telling you what that I saw one.
Yeah,
Now,
understand that.
now, one weird thing, and it happened last year, and I think I may have mentioned this, that I heard what sounded like somebody playing a drum walking down the street in front of my house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the world? Then I just did a quick prayer, and it's like it stopped, but then I could hear it start up like it was further down the street towards town.
Hmm.
I could hear the drumming resume. I'm just, to this day, I don't know. Maybe I was just hearing things, but man, it sure was. It sure seemed real to me. I mean, of all things to be hearing, I don't know. That's more of a paranormal thing, but
Right. Well, I don't know if y'all listen to it a lot, but on Alice 107.7, they have Thriller Thursdays. And a guy called in with his report because he didn't want to write the story out and everything, but he was telling them from Gettysburg, there on the battlefield. Uh, this was, I think he said in the late 70s. Anyway, when he was a teenager, they had football camps, and that was one of the deal that they all got to go there to that battlefield. And they was just talking about the text, but one early morning, everybody that was there in the camp, which he said it was like 40 or 50 people, got woke up from drums playing that went right through the through the camp, and it sounded like cannons going off. They ended up ending the camp early and leaving that day, and it's the same deal, paranormal. But come to find out, that happens a lot around there. From it, kind of, I guess, from the Civil War and everything, So that might have been some of the same kind of deal that you was hearing there.
yeah, now here's a weird thing, and it's just a coincidence, I'm sure, but about about 4/10 of a mile, give or take, to the west of me, behind this house, there's this old graveyard, and supposedly it was some of Jim Guy Tucker's ancestors. I don't know if y'all remember him or not. He was governor of
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yeah,
Well, anyway, I'm about 12, and I'm just roaming around woods, and I come up on that cemetery. I didn't know it existed. And there was a grave of a man that died March 22nd, 1862. I was born March 22nd, 1962. This guy died 100 years to the day that I was born. And that was just one of those, like, woo, time to leave.
yeah.
So yeah. So then, somebody playing drums going down the street. Weird.
Yeah, definitely weird things, occurrences happen.
Oh, there's a street light that goes out. I mean, people have been with me. I'll step outside and that thing just goes right off. And that happens quite a bit. Not every time, but it happens enough for me to go, oh, come on, man. Now what?
Hmm. Yeah.
And there's another street light down at the base of a hill that's probably about 40% of the time I walk under it, or if I'm in a vehicle, it goes out. Again, maybe just coincidence, but still, it's another one of those things that make you go,
Yeah, you never know. You maybe some kind of magnetic field that's associated with you.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't. I've got all kinds of metal stuff around me. Ain't nothing leaping on to me, so I guess I'm just not a walking human magnet. At least
No,
not that
you're
kind
right.
of magnet. But I did see what I would call a ghost when I was 5 years old, and didn't see another one, anything like that again, until I was 53, down at the train depot here in town, which I saw what I call the conductor. I saw him several times, and I would hear like faint music and what sounded like a party. I saw what some people would call shadow people. I would hear stuff fall in the back. I'd go back there in the back of the depot and look. Nothing fell. That's a really spooky place, at least in my experiences.
Yeah, that's sent chills. All you talking about the shadow people. A friend of mine that uh, anyway got into Bigfoot, and then when I first got into it, he contacted me, and most of the stuff that I was new into the field and everything. And I'm like, this guy must be crazy. But everything he'd take me out on, it turned out, he'd prove what he was saying and everything. But he passed away. I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years, 3 years ago. But the month before he passed away, he said everywhere he went at night, there was shadow people all around. Especially if he was ever asleep, he'd wake up and this room would be full of shadow people.
Oh
And
man.
he said that
Oh
it
boy.
seemed like they was always trying to reach for him. And I said, Tony, I don't know what I've never had that experience, but when you said that, I mean, his words clicked right in my, and then he passed away. So
That's
I don't,
creepy.
yeah,
Now, in those Bradford Bottoms, this one guy that told me about seeing the white and the black Sasquatch on all fours, he mentions this woman who supposedly was a witch in that area, and he would have his lighter on. He'd mention her name, and that flame would go out. And he said the inside of the car felt like it dropped 40 degrees, or 240 degrees, or it dropped 40 degrees inside the car.
wow.
And he said that's happened a couple of times. I'm like, you need to quit doing that. You don't really need to be tempting whatever's doing that, because that's definitely an evil presence.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough.
Yeah. Just amazing just hearing this little town, what I've seen and what others have seen and experienced. You never would think that just driving through. Just looks just like any other small little town in Arkansas.
Right.
We got a place here in Heber Springs, the old Anderson Inn. You know where I'm talking about? Window right across from the park.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, I heard that with that taps came in there at one time and couldn't find anything, and I think, well, they must have been hiding because there's definitely something there. Those things, that place is just spooky now. It's unreal.
I've heard that by several, but I had never been in there. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They had a chef, back when it was they opened it up with a restaurant and everything.
Yeah.
And that chef, he they gave him a room upstairs just to stay there, so he could just come down and cook. And he mentioned that he'd heard little kids running up and down the hallway, and he was the only one staying up there.
Oh no, boy. That's mentioned little kids. There was a guy that said that he was at the depot one night and he could hear a kid laughing in the back. And that something about hearing a child's laugh or something in that circumstance just really creeps me out.
Yeah. Well, the night that we was over at OARC and heard all them kids playing down in that holler, and it was upper 20s that night, and that creeped us out. Couldn't understand exactly what they was saying, but you could tell they were having a good time and laughing and moving around and running. And
You think it could have been like juvenile squatch?
that's what we've all sat and talked about it. I think that's it, because eventually, I don't know, it's about that. maybe close to midnight, that we heard a loud whoop from off in the other distance, and boom, it all stopped. So
Yep. Yep. That's what was going on.
Hmm.
Man, it's almost like, all right, kids, that's enough. Come in.
yeah, it's time
Or
to
there's
go
people
bed.
around. You need to shut up.
Yeah.
Well, we know there's play areas.
Mm-hmm.
We know that for a fact. And you know those tracks where we tracked across the Silmore that day and found the big track, and other than the mama track and the two little ones,
Yep.
looked like where kids had been running back and forth playing in the sand and just and
Yep. Just
so we
having a
know
good
that.
time, what it looked like
Mm-hmm.
from the tracks.
Yep. And that all them little bitty tracks up there on the mountain, you would know that's a play area because it
Oh yeah.
had that tree up there that's full of like paper bags and old lotion bottles and just all kind of crazy stuff stuck in a tree up there.
Yeah. All uh, ribbon and string, plastic. I don't know. It was kind of parts of toys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of like, put your toys up right here in the tree and let's go.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we've hit our hour mark here. Y'all got any final comments y'all want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I look forward to seeing you on the 6th.
All right.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
I was telling Dale I'll probably get up and be around his place about 9 that morning, and we'll head down there and message y'all before then and see where we're going to meet, and if Robert's going to be able to be there. I'm sure he is, but I hadn't talked to him in a week or so. So
Well, looking forward to meeting y'all again. You again, of course, Wendell and Dale, meeting you for the first time. So
sounds good. Then I'm gonna sign off here. We're opening our haunted house tonight, so I got a lot of things I gotta get caught up on here before we
Oh,
open
I
up.
bet.
We had 348 go through last night. It was
Wow,
crazy night.
man. Good night.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm Wendell Hurricane Burris, and this is BC Davis and Dale Bullock, and we're gonna sign off here this week. And if you got any comments, like I said before, either message me, Dale, or BC, or save them to our next podcast. It's always on the 23rd or around the 23rd of each month, and we'll see y'all next month in November. Y'all got anything final word?
no, just y'all take care and see you then.
Okay. You take care. Y'all be
Yeah,
good.
y'all too. Thanks for being on the show.
Anytime, glad to do it.
See you later.
Yeah, see y'all next month.
Later.